So I was journaling this morning and I don't know, I woke up with this memory in my head that I don't know, it's kind of a funny thing to remember. But when my oldest son was little, some friends that I worked with and my husband and we kind of made a family partnership together. We were both working in restaurants at the time, and uh, us as moms, we had basically opposite schedules. And so when she was working, I had the kids, and when I was working, she had the kids, and our husbands worked all the time. So um, it was a way for us to work the jobs that were paying us a decent wage and also have childcare handled without having to pay the exorbitant rates for daycare, right? So that's not the point of the story. The story, or the point of the story, is that when the boys were toddlers and they were potty training, because they're really very, very close in age, um, it was such a funny experience because um, my son, uh, was I think fairly easy to potty train, but he was like such like didn't care. Like he'd pee anywhere. And it was usually while scratching his rear end and getting it all over everything. And, we had to do the Cheerio trick where they try to aim at the Cheerio, right? Like it was a mess, but he was doing it and he was happy to do it and whatever. Well, the other boy that was with us really all the time, like we lived almost as families at that point in our lives. Um, he was terrified of getting pee anywhere on himself, right? Like he did not want to pee in a diaper. He didn't like any of that stuff. He was a good potty trainer, I guess. Like he was really into it, but he absolutely was terrified of getting any pee on his hands or his body or his clothes or anything. And so as they started to get more independent, of course, I'm taking them into stalls. They're both going in their independent stalls, but this boy would literally take off every article of clothing that he had, including his socks and shoes, all of it. He would take it all off in order to pee. And this lasted for about a year. It was impossible to convince him that he didn't have to do all that he could get away with just pulling down his pants, going to the bathroom, and then washing up. And so we had to really work and work on his mom and I, like the whole families, both of the families, we all had to work on encouraging him that it's okay because there's soap and water. We're going to wash up afterwards. It's going to be all right. You don't have to worry so much. It's going to be okay. And he was, of course, like he did not grow up having to take off all of his clothes to pee. He doesn't do that now, I'm sure. But um, the interesting thing was it took a really long time for us to get this persistent negative thought about peeing out of his head. And of course, I'm thinking about artists and our kind of plight and our struggle with how our minds work and how we can um, encourage our minds to work with us and get into that creative zone, get into that flow state easier. And I'm thinking about these negative, pervasive views that we have in our heads a lot of the time. And sometimes we're not even aware of them. We just think that that's how we do. But I wonder Is there something in your mindset, in your life, in your head, in your creative process that is literally blocking you from doing something easily? And um maybe it is something like peeing that you just have to do and you're going to have to get over it. But maybe it's about how you approach learning a new skill, or maybe it's about how you approach doing exercises. I'm not talking about working out, I'm talking about art exercises, right? Or maybe it's a negative thought about, oh, I can't draw, so I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to try, you know? What is the negative thought or the negative belief that you have that's holding you back in your creative journey? And for a long time for me, it was this idea that I had to do art a certain way in order to sell art and to make money as an artist. And I'm learning now that it's just not true. I can absolutely be myself and make money as an artist, but it might not look like how I thought it would in the beginning. It's not that I'm necessarily going to, do a ton of gallery shows and, all of a sudden have my name up in lights. It's not like that necessarily. But there are a lot of good opportunities for artists out there that there never were before. Um, so for me, it's about learning how to give myself permission to try and explore and to know that progress and perfection are not the same thing. And progress wins every day. It wins every day. So if you've got something negative in your head that has been bothering you, that keeps clicking around in your head, explore it, figure out what that's all about, because it will hold you back in your creative process. And this little segment, our mindset segments, are important to everyone, not just artists. So if you know someone that's stuck in their own mindset and you think that these would be helpful, remember, I'm not a licensed therapist. This is not a professional thing. This is just me talking about kind of my experiences and my thoughts on the subject of mindset. Because I know for me, once my mindset is good and I have the freedom to explore, my creativity explodes. When I am mired down in negative thoughts and emotions and things like that, it stagnates everything. So I'm hoping very much that you work on your mindset this week. Please subscribe, check out like some of the watercolor tutorials and some of the other mindset stuff, and keep coming back because we're talking about this every week.